it's Anita T from factversusfitness.com. Today we're going to be talking about bloating and how to actually fix it from one of its root causes. Let's get started. Bloating really sucks, and it affects more women than it affects men. So you'd think that they would have a bit more of an issue with it, but actually in my practice, I get a lot of guys. Middle-aged men with sort of the dad bellies who are actually just bloated every single day. So they may actually seem okay with it, but let's face it, nobody likes to feel bloated. Nobody likes to wake up and feel like more stretched out than you should be, or like your clothes aren't fitting right, or just really uncomfortable, or it can impact your confidence. So if you fall into any of these categories, then I feel you. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is that bloating is actually a pretty clear indication of something going wrong with the gut. Sometimes this is missed because bloating seems to be such a common thing. Like I said, it's so common to look at somebody and think, you know, he's got a beer belly or a dad belly, or I ate some stuff that I don't like, so I'm bloated all the time. But this actually is a pretty clear indication that something is going wrong with your gut. What the issue is depends, of course, on the underlying disorder, and this can be a pretty wide range of things because if you actually look it up, bloating can be sort of rooting from a whole bunch of different gut disorders, and if you end up Googling it, you'll just leave thinking you have like a whole bunch of disorders if you're a bit of a hypochondriac like I am. So I don't necessarily recommend doing that because the symptom is a pretty universal one for a lot of things that can go wrong. Anyways, guys, I don't want you to end up having to worry for no reason by researching all this stuff. So your friendly neighborhood scientist is here to the rescue today, and I'm gonna actually tell you guys a really common cause of bloating and how to fix it in a way that's been shown in studies to work really, really effectively and has been used in practice both by myself and by colleagues. I actually learned about this method from one of my professors that I just adore while I was doing my master's degree. I adored most of my professors though. I actually wrote one of them fan mail at one point and he never responded, which made me really sad, but that's okay. So Professor Prumboom, if you're listening, I'm your biggest fan. But yeah, thumbs up if you guys have a awesome teacher in your life that you appreciate. Anyways, back to bloating. Bloating is actually really commonly the result of a bacterial imbalance, or as we call it in science, bacterial dysbiosis. You have tons of bacteria in your gut, and they're influenced by so many different things. They're influenced by what you eat, they're influenced by what medications and antibiotics you've taken, whether you were breastfed as a kid, what chemical exposures you have. Just a whole bunch of stuff can go into determining what your gut bacteria profile looks like. The populations of gut bacteria are pretty dynamic, and because we are exposed to a lot of things in our daily lives that we wouldn't necessarily be in nature, like a lot of chemicals and a lot of pesticides and a lot of things that we don't necessarily want in our bodies, then these can actually accumulate to influence your gut bacteria in a negative way and progress your bacterial profile towards a unfavorable balance, and this could be causing symptoms like bloating that you're experiencing regularly. Bacterial dysbiosis can really be responsible for a whole bunch of different symptoms, especially starting in digestive symptoms, things like IBS, things like going to the bathroom too much or going to the bathroom too little, or even affecting your mood. All of these things are rooted in bacterial dysbiosis. So it's definitely a great thing to aim for improving your bacterial profile and leaning towards a more healthy gut bacteria. In other videos, I'll break down each one of these symptoms and I'll tell you guys sort of some more particular interventions for each one. But for today, I do just want to focus on bloating because it's a really common issue. So if you're experiencing bloating and it's rooted in a bacterial imbalance, then a great way to promote a healthy gut bacteria is through the use of probiotics, which can help to populate the gut with good bacteria. One thing that you should note, so it's a really big thing, is you definitely should not just be going into a drugstore and just picking out a random probiotic. That is really not the right way to go. Yes, for some people it works, and yes, there are more common strains that do work, but as somebody who is a published scientist and an academic who has personally spent years studying the research behind gut bacteria, I can tell you that the different strains, the different genuses, all these different things do a whole bunch of different stuff in your body. One common example I can give you guys is if you're experiencing digestive distress with diarrhea, then there's a particular probiotic, Saccharomyces boulardii, that tends to really help people with diarrhea. I'll do a separate video on that for you guys who have diarrhea out there. But the issue with this is other people who maybe have heard of success stories from using this probiotic to fix digestive distress, they'll go into the store and buy it, and some of them may actually have digestive distress with constipation, for example, in which case taking Saccharomyces boulardii has actually reported to make a lot of people feel a little bit more bloated and plugged up. And so it's just not a great idea to just be randomly picking a bacterial strain, because everyone has such a different bacterial profile that you really want to go with one that's shown to work for your particular symptoms and is going to complement your body. To give you guys sort of a bit of a clearer picture on the likelihood of you picking the perfect probiotic all on your own is basically that there is about 1,000 bacterial species that inhabit the gastrointestinal tract, and humans tend to have a mixture of about 15% of these 1,000 species. So everybody's profile is so different. We may not even have anything close to the same species. We may not have the same issues with the same species. So it's definitely important to know that in this regard, the probability of you just at random choosing the perfect right probiotic for you based on something like price or somebody's recommendation if they're inexperienced, or the look of the bottle or something, that's a pretty low probability that it's actually going to happen, and you may end up doing yourself more harm than good by disturbing your bacterial balance. So when it comes to bloating in particular, a really great species of bacteria that's been shown in studies to improve bloating with supplementation is called lactobacillus GG. And it's really important to remember that end part and not get this confused with general lactobacillus, because lactobacillus is a genus of bacteria with loads of different species in it. So it's important to focus on lactobacillus GG for bloating. Numerous scientific studies have shown the efficacy of lactobacillus GG when supplemented to individuals. I've used it in practice. My colleagues have used it in practice. I've gotten a lot of great feedback that it's actually helped to clear chronic bloating really quickly. So I've gotten some great reviews on it, and I would definitely recommend trying lactobacillus GG if you're experiencing bloating from a bacterial imbalance. Lactobacillus GG isn't super easy to find. It's not available everywhere, but there is one common brand that you can actually order online, and it's called Culturelle. Still, it's important to make sure you're getting the lactobacillus GG version and not any other version of their probiotics. I will put the link in the description below so that you guys can check that out and see the correct strain. This particular probiotic contains 10 billion colony forming units, so you can take it twice a day if you'd like. I prefer to take my probiotics away from food so that they're not exposed to all the digestive juices and all the gastric juices. I take them about 30 minutes before so that it avoids that exposure, but it keeps them moving down the digestive tract and into the colon where they can populate. This brand that I recommended to you guys also contains inulin, which some people do bloat from, but just so you guys know, it's a really low dose and there shouldn't be any issues with it. In fact, it should actually just help promote and support the growth of this bacteria, Lactobacillus GG, which is great. One downside to note of this particular probiotic is that I usually work with hypoallergenic supplements. And I don't really like everything in the casing of this probiotic. It has things like coloring. Like, I don't know who cares about how, like, the color of their case of their probiotic, but anyways, apparently enough people do that. They put it in there. So it has that and a few other ingredients that I'm not particularly fond of and I wouldn't particularly consume. So my solution to that is I actually open up the capsule and I empty it onto some homemade yogurt or something like that. Just don't put it on any hot food because that'll actually kill the bacteria. But that way I can actually have the probiotic without consuming the casing. But if you guys don't have a problem with these colorings or you're not not too worried about that, then of course it's up to you however you want to take it. So guys, like I said, I've linked the probiotic below so you can take a look at that and hopefully be saying bye-bye to your bloating pretty soon. You guys can also check out my recipe for improved gut health, which I'll link somewhere here, but that actually shows you guys a particular way of preparing apples that's actually going to reduce bloating and support a healthy gut bacterial balance, so definitely check out that video. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and if you guys want a scientist on your side to improve your gut health with facts that are off the book, then don't forget to subscribe to my channel below and give this video a thumbs up. I'll see you guys next time.